Chase.
Weston!
That was nice. Long awaited, finally we are doing the Trash Talk Extra we promised a long ass time ago on Zelda Wii U. So, this is speculative. We're literally just gonna throw out our thoughts and opinions and crap.
Because of course it's all, I mean, only various amounts of information have been put onto the internet. Not even a whole lot. So we're just gonna be giving our opinions on what's out and what we think may end up happening. Right? You know, so that's what basically we're doing.
So I want to start off. What do you want to throw in?
Me.
For starters.
Okay, first off, I want to start out with how different Link looks in this game, especially like with the advertising and the promotional, like, you know, how Link always kind of looks his iconic look. It doesn't seem to be in this game, or at least from what we've seen, they're hiding it from us. I wonder why they decided to do that.
It is true, because I know at the very beginning of Skyward Sword, for example, you are wearing kind of a bluishy looking outfit.
Yeah, you actually kind of wear this kind of a similar
something similar to
and Wind Waker, because you wear like a blue and then
so typically at the beginning of the games you wear something different that's not necessarily the iconic green Link yet. But so that might be what they're doing, just to kind of keep it.
Wait, before I have an interesting kind of thought. Does he okay, not Ocarina of Time, no, he's in green.
He's in green.
But in Wind Waker and Skyward Sword, he's in a blue. Like, I noticed this.
Princess
Yeah. He wears like a blue kind of shirt, and then like has like tan kind of jeans on. And I noticed that
at the very beginning of the game.
Yeah, at the very beginning of those two games.
He's wearing kind of like a tannish-y.
Yeah, tannish.
Well, in Wind Waker and Skyward Sword, it's blue.
Yeah, like I just noticed that. I was not like, is that a recurring theme?
And then it's just a straight up knight in Battle Warriors.
Oh, that's different.
Well, because point being, even in the spin-offs, like, he's usually out of his normal iconic garb before obtaining it. Because we're all supposed to think, hey, when's the moment where he gets his iconic green clothes?
Hyrule Sword, they didn't really even do that. It's like, yeah, no, here's Link, boom, there he is.
But yeah, so in most of the games, with the exception of a few, even from the very beginning, like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, for example, he's wearing his green garb. And now, they might have a different few outfits later, like the Fire or like Zora armor, but even though it's basically the same looking armor, just in a different color, you know, so maybe, who knows, maybe he won't be green this time. It could just be that they've only showcased his first outfit. Kind of hard to say from here on out, but yes, it is.
That's one of the first things I kind of noticed about that.
Because even in other trailers and such for those other games where he's at the beginning out of the iconic clothes, they still show, like in trailers and commercials, that eventually nothing in this game so far they've shown off what his iconic clothes will look like.
Which doesn't mean he won't get it. You know, for all we know, he will. It just hasn't been shown that he's been in that clothes.
Yeah. And then I also want to say something about the timeline, because there's like, remember the first reveal trailer of it, where he's fighting like this giant kind of robotic kind of octopus thing? That really, like, I started playing Skyward Sword very recently. I haven't played in a while, so I'm going to go back to playing it after he told me that I wasn't even halfway done. I feel so stupid. Well, anyway, and I kind of was like, wait, these kind of like the robots you like talk to in Skyward Sword, they're kind of similar to that, as they kind of have that blue kind of deal to it.
A little bit, yeah.
So,
of course, they're a lot smaller.
Yeah, they're a lot smaller and not like that. But I was thinking, what if this game, like timeline-wise, what if this game takes place right after Skyward Sword?
It's possible, because as far as I know, it hasn't been confirmed where it's been placed in the Historia yet.
Because isn't Skyward Sword like the precursor to everything?
It is the very first game in the entire storyline, yes. So, Skyward Sword, and based like the storyline of the order of all the games is first. And generally, pretty much how it's worked is the oldest games are the last ones in the storylines, actually. Like, they've actually worked back up in their storyline. So it's possible. Who knows? This might even be before Skyward Sword, if that's how it is, you know. My guess is no. But, yeah, it could possibly be related. It's sort of, you notice that even the look-wise, it's kind of bright and colorful, similar to Skyward Sword.
Yeah, it looks very bright.
It's cel-shaded, like Wind Waker, but the actual art style in itself is that of... It's It's reminiscent of Skyward Sword.
Yeah, of course, with enhanced lighting effects and textures and stuff. Of course, new hardware, new software.
It looks fucking gorgeous.
It looks amazing. So,
Yeah, I know, and then even, like, and another way this could relate to Skyward Sword, like, this could take place afterward, is in the gameplay trailer, they showed him off using the sailcloth. Like, you jump off. That's the same thing you use in Skyward Sword, but not in that exact way.
it would be kind of weird to see it so far down the road.
Yeah, so what I'm thinking is my theory to this is this Zelda game, which they haven't really said the name of the title of it. Who knows? It might be Zelda Wii U. I hope it's not.
I hope it's not. And they won't. If they do that, I'll be pissed off.
If it's like I don't know, like Legend of Zelda, like this could be like the story right after Skyward Sword. So, do we ever see Girahim after Skyward Sword?
Skyward Sword is the only one.
I don't know. That'd be really cool if I'm right.
Not canonically.
Not canonically. Like, does like a Girahim die in the story, or what happens to him exactly?
Skyward Sword?
Yeah.
I think you killed him. No. At the very end, well, you haven't beat it. Do you want me to spoil it?
No, don't.
Okay.
Just
no,
just
you
give me,
you don't kill him, but it's a little different. So,
I don't know. That would be really interesting if like we see Girahim in this game, like because we see Tingle.
I have a feeling
kinda
they're going to
jump
go a different direction because with all the batches of characters they introduce, they tend to like almost kind of ditch them. Sometimes there'll be references to them in other games, but they'll usually introduce new cast after new cast.
Yeah.
Right? So I mean, it is possible at this point.
It could be
Like,
possible,
like,
like,
no.
we could all be wrong.
I'm just gonna take a shot in the dark and say I don't know if they're gonna do that, but that's just my opinion.
I don't know. I think that would be kind of cool to do that, especially kind of in reference to Skyward Sword, because again we see that.
They might have entirely new bad guys, because of course the most iconic one is Ganondorf. He's seen the most often in Skyward Sword.
Except that we haven't
just so
seen
it's a
him in this
spoiler. Ganondorf is not the main bad guy in Skyward Sword. You'll figure that out later. I won't tell you who it is, but you'll see. There's another one in some of the other games. It's Vati, who you see Ganondorf, and I think there's one other in like Spirit Tracks or something like that I can't know his name.
But Spirit Track, so it's kind of just like kind of the weird one, weird of the game out of the.
But anyways, who knows? We could maybe even get someone completely new for this game. You know?
Let's talk gameplay because it looks updated, definitely.
Oh yeah, it's a lot different. The first thing you realize is how open world the game is and how
really open world.
How it looks like it's, and they were mentioning that it's going to be a lot more. You can kind of like go here if you want to do this temple, and go here if you want to, and a lot less linear compared to most of the other games.
So yeah, it's gonna be more open world. So what I'm thinking, like the story behind this is, okay, so Zelda gets captured, but you don't know exactly where she went. But like as you travel to the temples, you kind of get a better idea of where she's at, or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. So something like.
So you like just like okay, now I know like she could have been west. So I'm gonna go there, but you could be wrong, and so like it could just kind of lead you around and stuff. Kind of just like. How well can I trust this information?
Kind of makes you wonder how the side missions with like going to a certain place for the main plot and then finding out someone's in trouble over here, but it can help you out by maybe they have info on something or whatever the case may be, so then you have to travel over there. But
yeah, no, like like the side quests. Like I think like some of them could start out like you know how in Skyrim like you're just like wandering around and stuff, and you like stumble upon something.
Yeah.
It could be like that. Like you could be like just traveling on Epona, and then you just see like off the distance like these moblins just attacking this caravan and stuff, and then you decide like, oh, I better go and save these people.
They do plan on doing some of that because in the release one where they were fighting that super giant robot laser beam demon thing, they were talking about how they want those kinds of things to happen throughout the world while you're exploring it on an occurring basis. So I think that something along like Skyrim will end up happening because they're saying like, even though it's a lush, beautiful area, Hyrule Field and all those other places, right? But of course it would feel empty if things were happening while you were exploring it. So I'm sure there will be lots of stuff that you can just simply stumble into.
who knows? Maybe that robot thing will attack you while you're just like, oh, this is gonna be a peaceful river and stuff. It's like, oh my god, what the fuck is that? And then like instant boss battle. That would be really cool. That would be a cool way of doing some bosses.
Yeah.
Like they just like appear out of nowhere and just attack you.
Similar to sort of like the Krakens in Wind Waker, where you're just kind of like,
oh yeah.
Boom, giant Kraken. You know, although they were sort of set in specific areas.
Yeah, they were specific.
But if you didn't know, it seemed super random.
Yeah, no, like they're in like random areas, but they would change areas. Like, oh, they would be over here, but if you didn't make it in time, then they'll be in another area because I failed to get to the Krakens a couple times during that game. So they would spawn in another part of the ocean. I would be like, oh shit, I don't know. But luckily I didn't. I had like the upgraded sail, so I just could go like wherever the fuck I went.
Yeah.
Instead of changing the winds like you did.
Yeah, I never got that sail, so I had to change it every time.
Something else I wanted to mention was the actual progression of this open world. Since they showed off the map, and it's a huge ass map for what they showed off from the Game Awards.
Yeah, it looks like it's almost like it's pretty much a continent. It's not like a valley or something. It's really a continent.
How progression really like? You kind of have to think it might get a little. Yeah, in case they put things in your way specifically for whatever thing you're trying to do, a mission you're trying to do, or even just place you're trying to get to. Hopefully things are going on in the world, so you're not just riding along. Kind of feels a little boring going through some trees. Like, how is that really going to play out? Like, do you think they'll throw some specific shit at us, or do you think?
Yeah, maybe. Or they could give you
shortcuts or something you find along the way, or
like for instance, they were talking about like the environments and stuff, and like I said, like, oh, there was apples here last time, so maybe like even changes of season as you're like going through this world. Like it could be like a different seasonal kind of place. It's like, oh, this area could be snowy, but then this area is like a kind of like a desert.
That'd be really cool.
That'd be really cool to see. And then like oh, you could pick up like certain.
Because all this aesthetic actually changes how the gameplay is, how the progression is done.
Yeah. Ooh, and I have an interesting kind of tidbit. Like this is kind of just more of an interesting concept that I think would work for a Zelda game. Like whenever you want to save in like a certain area, you find like a camp. You like set up camp and stuff for the night, and that's how you save your game.
Like Tomb Raider?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. No, but not at like a set point. You just like save. Like, okay, I'm done over here. I'm just gonna save real fast, and then like you stop, and like your phone is just like laying there, and then like you're just sitting there by the campfire and stuff, and then that's
so you actually like set it up like there's like a little button. Would you like to set up camp and it goes black for a couple seconds and then
yeah.
Okay, yeah, because in
Not
Tomb Raider
it's different.
Wood. Yeah, No, in Tomb Raider it's different because
work to save.
you have to like go find the campfire. It's just like a set place. Whereas Skyward Sword sort of did something similar where you had to find the statues. If you want to go save, you can just save on the spot. Which a lot of Zelda games have that, but you have to go find the statue. Where in Majora's Mask it's both, where you can save at any point in time, but if you want to save at a specific point, you have to go find the owl statues. So, I mean, who knows how they'll implement that?
Oh yeah, I would just say that would be probably a cool way to implement that. And then like different ways of traversing the world. Hopefully, another cool idea that I would have is like if there's like water areas, like utilize different assets from all the Zelda games. Like so, like oh, you have like a boat section where you can just like you could just like cross a lake or something to the other side. Then you have Epona. Then you have the sailcloth. You have it like implement like different methods of travel. Since it's a big world, there has to be like I would imagine there would have to be different modes of travel, and I saw like a lot of different type of landmarks there. There's lakes on this certain point. There's mountainous areas in other locations.
So like more than one version of Epona is what you're saying. Is like depending on what you're trying to get around. So like for land, you would have the horse, which we already saw is going to be in the game because that was in gameplay footage. But like so for water you could have some kind of boat. It doesn't have to be the King of Red Lions or something. Just but a boat, or maybe if there's a sky area, they could have some kind. It doesn't have to be necessarily like the Skyloft birds from Skyward Sword, but it can be something else. Maybe who knows? That would be.
If it takes place afterwards, then maybe the Skyloft swords, Skyloft birds.
I can't remember exactly.
Skyloft swords.
Yes.
Yeah, you said Skyloft swords.
Now I'm just picturing like freaking Link riding like a sword, just like, come on, sword, let's go. Like a sword with wings.
Yeah.
Just like.
So. It being it as a game that has not been out yet and has been delayed. What are your thoughts on that? Why do you think it's being delayed? When do you think it's going to release this year? If this year at all?
It's really hard to speculate because, of course, the game was supposed to come out at the end of 2015, which it didn't, because they decided to push it back for quality reasons, or what they say, right? Now, of course, we know that this has been stated to be the most expensive project in the history of the entire company, which means they're doing a lot with this game. New innovation, so there's going to be all kinds of stuff, which you've already seen a few new things in the gameplay, such as the open world, the fact that you can now swing the sword on the horse, which generally you're only allowed to use arrows. When you jump off, you go into like a slow-mo thing. Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. So, but it's because they're having so much innovation, we know there's a lot of, and we have, like we've already seen, a lot of new changes. So that could be really good. This could be the best Zelda game ever with all the new experimentation they're doing. It could be terrible, you know. I hope that wouldn't be the case. Zelda's had a pretty good running of being pretty solid games. Even their less liked ones are considered fairly solid, you know. So I have faith that it'll do well. I think it'll be a good game. It'll be a good experience. That's my opinion. Of course, this is all speculation. We don't know. What do you think?
Well, I'm gonna be a little bit more optimistic about the game. Like, they seem to know what they're doing when it comes to Zelda, so I don't think they would fuck up really bad with Zelda, because I don't think they've really ever fucked up bad with Zelda.
It would just depend on how these new things are implemented, which pretty much what you said.
Yeah, like, and I think it's because they delayed it. They really want to make sure that it's a really good product.
Yeah.
Again, they have a lot of money riding on this. They don't want to just rush it out and then end up losing a shit ton of money.
That would be
catastrophic. Yeah, so they want to make sure that this is going to be a good game, and they're probably like fine polishing everything.
Seeing delays are kind of a good thing, because alright, it means they're taking the time to make sure they get stuff done. As long as they don't keep delaying it, because if it gets delayed more than once and constantly, then you're like, okay, something was super wrong. You know, like they're not just
Last Guardian or something.
Yeah. So something has to completely change, and that starts to scare me. Because like, if you have to keep delaying these things,
if it's like 1 or 2 delays, I don't think it's really a problem. It's just more of like quality control and just making sure, or they find like a bug in something and they're just fixing it up.
Yeah.
As long as they don't do what they did with Street Fighter V and just like give you a very flawed version, or with PC ports of certain games like Batman, Arkham Knight, and Mortal Kombat X, because they had really shit PC ports.
Yeah.
From what I know, I don't play PC, so I don't really know for sure.
And you've just been around, so of course you heard about it.
But yeah, they have thrown news around, and if you look at like Metacritic scores for the PC versions, they are really low because of that shit.
So that does pretty much play into, let's just state it more abrupt.
But Zelda does have a PC port, so we're not going to that.
Being more abrupt now, more straightforward, an aspect we haven't talked about in a while, so what are our expectations for this? Straightforward with the game.
Okay, I expect it to be a pretty good game. I expect lots of new stuff, you know, because of, like we've already seen it, and that it's such an expensive project. Again, Zelda's always done a pretty good job of implementing new things. Like, even though they're all Zelda and they all feel like Zelda, but they all feel like different games at the same time. Like, for example, like Wind Waker and Skyward Sword. They're both Zelda games. They both feel nostalgically like Zelda and iconically like Zelda, but they don't feel like the same game. So, which is, you know, and I expect this one to be above and beyond and probably be the most different of them all. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. What I expect, what I want from this game in particular is, like, I don't know, like from Zelda games, like, you kind of get like that hint, like, oh, this takes place after something. But I don't want it to be super obvious, but a little bit more kind of obvious, like where this game takes place on like the timeline, since there is an established timeline. Because like I feel like with some of the games they could just made up, like, oh, this game just goes here just because.
Yeah.
We have no idea where this else is going. So maybe like with this game, like it has better continuity. I want better continuity with this game to make like, okay, where does this game actually kind of take place on the timeline, and how I know that was
sort of like where Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker sort of references Ocarina of Time a few times, so you know it takes place after.
Yeah, at least like that. So like maybe like something like that.
Really, I'm getting more into like the aesthetics. One thing we didn't say was that, well, I think we touched upon it a little bit, was the kind of more futuristic looking with the bow and that announcement trailer.
Yeah, that's the thing too. It's like it could not take place right after because of how technological.
That's an idea they wanted to implement back in Zelda's conception as a series, as a game, back in the NES game. So, seeing that they're finally starting to see that original dropped idea actually implemented now, hopefully I'm expecting for it to play a pretty big part of the story. Seeing as there's that robot, seeing as, are there any other Zelda games where you fight legit robots like that?
No, in Skyward Sword you communicate with robots, kind of like that, where they kind of have like the electricity kind of like limbs to them.
Okay.
They're attached to their hands, but that's the only instance of actually seeing like robots like that.
Yeah,
Like you don't see that in Wind Waker, you don't see that
You don't see it in Ocarina of Time, you don't see it in Majora's Mask, you don't see it in Phantom Hourglass, you don't see it in... Yeah, I don't
So
really
that's
see a
why,
lot of it.
yeah, you only really see it in Skyward Sword, so that's why I'm making the reference that this could take place right after Skyward Sword, because of the fact that the robot looks very similar, like, it has very similar parts, especially with, like, the electronic limbs, like, linking, like, the body to the limb that you see in the robots with Skyward Sword. That's why I'm making that reference.
So with that classic Zelda feel to it, of a medievalish, not medieval, but a long time ago, that kind of age.
Yeah.
Specifically. That feel with
Well, they change.
the futuristic kind of elements. I'm hoping that's like an integral part of like the story and stuff of the game, and not just like, well, here's some elements, it's a new looking theme. You're really just gonna see it in the trailers, or like for like one maybe kind of sub-boss fight or something. Yeah. Hopefully it's a big part, and at the same time, the functionality of anything else that's new. I hope that it works.
Yeah,
Exactly. In which, like I said, is probably going to be the make it or break it, is how well implemented is everything.
Actually, and I want to add one more thing. Hopefully, if, like, there are going to be temples in this game, I have no doubt about that. There's going to be
Plenty of
temples.
dungeons.
Yeah, dungeons and temples. Like what you said earlier, like you didn't say it in this one, but I know you you talk about it in other places. You get to use all your items. None of your items that you get feel useless after that one temple you use it in.
Yeah.
Like hopefully you find use for all of those items.
Some Zelda games.
Since it's open world, like maybe like that item could like still be of use to you for some stuff. Like hopefully all the items that you get don't fall out of usefulness besides like 2 or 3 really good items. Like why do I need these other items when I have these? I hope that you utilize all of your items in that game and utilize them well. Not even in like using like, oh, I have to use this in this dungeon, but you get it in one dungeon, but you can't use it till like the next 3 dungeons and stuff. Like I want that kind of stuff. So you have to really be sure. And then plus I also want a limited like pack with it, like limited, where you don't get to carry all your items. So you have to pick and choose what items you can use.
Drop this item, take this item.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Wait, so like a traditional loot system, or are you talking about like in Skyward Sword you can store stuff in your base?
Yeah, stored. Like store. It's like Skyward Sword.
Okay.
Again, like Skyward Sword, because like because if I'm right and my theory is true, like this takes place right after Skyward Sword, like it's the second story right afterwards. That would make a lot of sense. To
So
me.
that's your. Let's just say this right now. I kind of was thinking about it prior to recording. This is our speculative review. We'll probably try and get us all together again to do an actual review once the game comes out, whenever that is, and hopefully the show's still going on by that time. We'll do a legit, as a Trash Talk Extra, we'll do a legit review on it with our structure and all that. So with that being said, you're going to just hold true that, in your opinion, this comes right after Skyward Sword.
Yes, from what I've seen, it's very likely that this takes place right after Skyward Sword in the timeline.
Let's see if that's true. I just want to see if, I want to get the opportunity to, if it is, you're like in that video, I called it! I just want to see if that ends up happening.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense to me, just like from the robot to like kind of more futuristic kind of tech. Even the coloration of that technology is very similar to the robots, as the robots kind of have like that bronze and that red coloration with like the blue electrical stuff. And even with the arrow, you see that bronze, you see that red, you see that kind of red kind of tinge. It's kind of more of like a dark brown / red kind of tinge to it, with that blue kind of electrical like lighting and stuff. You see that in the arrow, and you see it in the robot, and you see it in the robotics and like the how do you pronounce that? Like Laranryu Desert? I think that's what I'll have it right here. I don't know.
I haven't played Skyward Sword in a while. I don't remember all the names.
I don't remember. I haven't played it in a
It's a
while.
great game.
It's like it's a really long name. It's a really weird name, but I'll have it right here. Hopefully, someone knows how to pronounce it in like.
Have the dictionary-esque way of how to pronounce it.
Zelda Dictionary.
Yeah, but like from what I've seen, and plus like how you use the sailcloth in that game, you do have the sailcloth in that game. Plus he wears kind of like the same stuff that you kind of see in Skyward Sword, or especially the same kind of cloth and all that. I would not be surprised if this takes place in the timeline right after Skyward Sword.
No, here's another speculation. Remember how at the very beginning of Skyward Sword, it talks about, maybe it wasn't the beginning. Somewhere in Skyward Sword, they talk about how Hyrule was on the ground, or the people were on the ground, and then the whole land rose, and that's why they're in the sky. I guess you didn't get that far. Anyways.
No, I did get that far. Like, I know that whole kind of...
What if that's before? What if it's before the land rose?
So it would be pretty much retconning like Skyward Sword as the first game.
And that would also make sense, because remember those robots were old and like decayed.
Yeah.
The robots in Skyward Sword are old and decayed. That might take place before Skyward Sword.
Or after. So
Speculation.
So we have two speculations on the lore of this game. Chase is saying it happens before. I'm still gonna stick to my guns, and I'm gonna say it's after.
I don't know. I'm still trying to get to Ocarina of Time.
This guy hardly got anywhere in Ocarina of Time.
I started the N64 version. Then I own the 3DS
Yeah, he
version.
owns both versions, and he hasn't played hardly any of either of them.
They suck. So. Anyway.
There are plenty of titles.
Anyway.
If you don't like one, there's a bunch of them to go off of. Maybe they're like.
So we're not gonna do any kind of verdict in this. It just kind of goes without saying because we're gonna do another legit review.
There's nothing to vote on.
Yeah. Well, actually, there is. There is. Who do you think is right? Do you think I'm right that it takes place after, or do you think Chase's ideas make a lot of sense?
Straw poll.
It does.
Straw poll in the description. Also, when this goes up on Twitter, you're gonna find a poll. The same thing. Who's right in their
Who's
speculation?
right? Does this take place? Is Chase right? That
We're legit betting here. I'm surprised you guys haven't been like $5.
It's not enough information to go off. It's all speculation. I don't.
All speculation.
I'm guessing.
We could be both wrong.
Yeah. Well, how can we both be wrong? It's either before or after.
We're both wrong. And they decide to be like, no, it takes place here just because.
It takes place years and years after whatever the last
It's like a
time
completely
happened.
alternate universe. Just
Yeah.
I doubt it.
I doubt it, no.
Cinematic
No, either
DVD
Chase is
universe.
right and it takes place before Skyward Sword, even though they said Skyward Sword was the first game, and they just decided, no, this is the first game. This is the first Legend of Zelda game, not Skyward Sword. Skyward Sword's now the second. Which I wouldn't be surprised. Or my theory is that it's the second game in the timeline, and this takes place right after Skyward Sword.
Which you also wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised either way, but
Either one
I want to be
makes
right.
sense.
So,
You want to be right.
I want to be right.
we'll find out in due time. So,
is that
being
everything?
said, I'm Marcelo,
I'm Chase.
I'm Weston.
and this was a Trash Talk Extra that's been in development for a while, and now it's finally happened. So,
I am right.
You don't know that.
we'll see about that.
I will.